Oftentimes people don't understand that if the government hasn't agreed to let you sue them, then in fact you have no right to sue them and your suit can be dismissed automatically. Local governments and state government and federal government, for that matter, all have immunity from suit that we as citizens don't have. And so the cases often involve whether or not the government has consented to being sued. That can be done either by statute or by federal law. The other thing is whether the government has consented or has voted to spend the money to pay for any judgment that in fact is awarded against them. Those are two big defenses local governments have, and as a result, there's a lot of case law and a lot of rulemaking that has gone on about when they've consented to suit, when they have not, and it gets complicated. Cities have powers, like the city of Austin is a home rule city, has powers to do basically anything that it is not prohibited from doing. However, the county is exactly the opposite. The county only has the power that it is expressly given. So the counties can't assume power. They have to be given the power by the legislature, and that's the opposite from the cities. Open government means you're entitled to know what information the government has, what documents it used to make its decision, and how it made its decision. In most cases, if I represented you in a lawsuit, our discussions are privileged and people are not entitled to hear those. That works somewhat in government. However, government is open government, and so if cities, counties, municipalities have meetings, those are open meetings. Their decision processes are open, so they cannot authorize their council to do things without it being in public. They can't hide from their constituents the actions they're taking, and that's very different from private parties in litigation. When you represent an individual in a lawsuit, your focus is solely on that lawsuit and how that lawsuit can be resolved or tried or defended or prosecuted. When you represent a government that has constituents, its citizens, the considerations are much broader. You have to consider the impact not only to the governmental entity itself, but to all of the citizens that that government represents, and that becomes much more complicated than it does when you're representing an individual or a company.